ended up meeting Dr. Kathy Baker, and she became my counselor.
Mm.
And she helped me really she helped me through that situation, dealing with that particular issue with a family member. And I was like, wow. And so then she started the process of kind of rooting through, literally, the causes. She first validated me.
Right.
And that's one of the things that I needed, not only with what the situation was that I was dealing with, unforgiveness with a family member. And it wasn't my parents or my brother or anybody like that. It was an extended family member. And once she validated my feelings in that, it was like, wow. Like, it was okay to have feelings then.
It was okay to have feelings because you were being heard. You
Yes.
felt safe. All of a
Yes.
sudden, you shared a little bit. She validated your emotions. She made you feel worthy.
Yes.
And when you don't allow, when someone doesn't feel safe enough with
Yep.
you to tell you their innermost being, that is on you.
Yep.
That is
Yes.
on you. You have
Yep.
not created an atmosphere of safety, which all it takes is a little bit of love and kindness there, okay? But that's not anywhere in the heart of a narcissist.
No.
And when you have a narcissist, king narcissist as a father, you're never going to get that. And so it
No.
makes sense to me from my story, from my perspective, when I think about my story, because of course a lot of that's why I love talking about our stories, because things that she says and processed and went through make me think about things because it's a continual process. Like
Yes.
you're continually. That's, I believe, if you want to bring scripture into it, I know some of y'all don't like when I do that, but like the word says, we're being saved.
Yeah.
We're being renewed. Our minds are continually being renewed.
Yes.
For the word of God. And therapy is a huge tool that
Yes.
God uses to bring freedom in the area of the soul, the realm of the mind, the realm of the will, and the realm of the emotions.
Yep.
And the church doesn't touch on this enough. They get too caught up in spiritual. I've literally been told by some of my listeners that they've offered some very, very profitable suggestions and advice for me in doing these shows, and they said, Melody, please refrain from using too much spiritual lingo and biblical, because so many people are turned off by the church and by things that I was used to be aligned with, that they don't even want to listen to what you have to say because you're putting it in terms like that. Well, guess what? You don't have to put it in terms like that. It's a very real thing. Emotions are real. You don't have to bring scripture into that. And I think that a lot of Christians that just focus on the spiritual side, when we're a triune being, they get off balanced. And they don't realize that God is just as concerned with our emotional health as He is our spiritual health and our physical health.
Yes.
But physical we can touch. Spiritual faith makes us feel good. And so what ends up happening is people either go extremely into spiritual stuff, or extremely into like bodybuilding and working out and athletics kind of things, or plastic surgery.
Yeah.
Dear God, what is happening? So anyway, it's just, wow, it's just interesting to me the things that you're talking about, the unveiling. I like to call it the unlayering. Like we're in a constant. We're an artichoke. We're just constant.
No,
you got to keep on layering to get to the heart. Hello,
Yeah, no, that's true. And even now, my mom and dad, were my rock. And
she has 3 dogs, by the way. So If you see another one yawning over there, one's gonna get up. They're awesome. Her little babies, they're so cute. Your mom and dad. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, so my mom and dad were my rock through all of that.
Wow.
And,
What a blessing.
you know, when I think about that in the last 4 years, my mom and dad had both passed away, and so I don't have that
Outlet,
physical outlet
Yeah.
to be able to speak to them and talk to
Yeah,
them
that's hard.
on a
That's
physical level.
hard.
But yet, because I have my, my spiritual family, that has been something that I've been able to rely on. I have my other extended family that I've been able to rely on. I also have, in the last 2 years, I've gone through grief counseling, and that has also helped, So it's like I have gone through counseling in phases,
Mm-hmm.
and it's addressed issues at the time,
Right.
as well as
Yes.
it has addressed issues that were in the past too.
Yeah.
So, and then it uncovers the fact that there's things in your past that's having to do with things today.
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. They're all related. Everything's always going to be connected to that.
Yes.
It's always, you can get healing, but you're always going to have that as a part of
Yes.
your identity. It becomes a part of your DNA. I mean, God can help us move on, and we don't have to stay bitter and resentful and angry and all of those things. We can learn how to not be those,
Yes.
have those emotions
Absolutely.
anymore. It's an amazing thing. But you're always going to have this deficit that you have to be careful.
Yeah. And then also too, you learn to cope with those emotions in a healthy way.
Right, right.
Because I didn't cope with my emotions always in a healthy way. I went, I was promiscuous after I was raped,
Yeah.
and that's, and my counselors told me, said, that's a very normal reaction. Either you go to the extreme of not
Yep.
having anything to do with people,
Ding, ding, ding.
or you go to the opposite extreme, like you're trying to fill that void, so you're thinking that, any man is going to fill that void,
Right,
rather
right.
than have...
You want to trust a man so bad with your heart
Yes.
that you think this is how twisted it gets when you don't deal with it. Okay, you think that giving him your body
Yes.
it may be that if they're satisfied, then they'll give you what you want and
Yes.
just be there emotionally for them, and it
Yes.
doesn't work that way.
No, you come away empty every time.
Every time. It's
And-
the worst. You think I enjoyed, the bad mistakes that I made, the stupid choices that I made? I hated it. I didn't even want to be doing it. Like, honestly, I was like, why am I angry? All these things, and it just breaks my heart, Theresa, to know so many people who just keep going in circles and they can never break through in life.
Yeah.
They can't get a hold of, they don't have hope.
No, and that's one of the things I see with people who have any kind of addiction,
Yeah.
is that usually they're feeling some kind of void
Oh, absolutely.
that is not, I had God in my life, and I had a strong relationship with God.
Yep.
But there was still a void there.
Yep. Thank you.
That either I was not allowing him to feel it at the time, or I didn't even know how to let him feel it.
Right. Because we needed to talk to somebody so that our minds could get clear, so that we could learn how to do.
Yes.
That area of your life is so shut off until you talk about it. It's like, so how can you move forward? You can't. You can't.
Yes.
And some of you watching might be like, man, I've felt like I can never move forward in life. Like I'm just stuck. I'm stuck. I feel like I'm just reliving this nightmare over and over and over and over and over again, and I can't get it out of my mind. It just plays over and over in my mind, and it gets me so angry, and then I get fearful around men, and then I just start getting really insecure, and then I forget who I am. I mean, we understand, okay? We understand this is human nature. This is what happens. And I just want you to know, if you're listening, and you may know somebody that you think could identify with our stories. Please send them the link and encourage them to watch this, because maybe something that we have been through, with something Theresa's been through that she shared about tonight, and this, because I think that people they get tired of hearing counseling. I know I need to go to counseling, or maybe they've had a bad experience with counselors in the past who just used to yell at them and tell them how horrible they were. That's not counseling.
No.
That's degradation.
Yes.
That's humiliation. That's manipulation. And that is what you do when you control people.
That is not real counseling.
No. So please understand, when I say counseling, it is nothing. If you were someone that was hurt by someone that abused you verbally and you thought that they were counseling you, they abused you, and now you need counseling for that too.
Yes.
I mean,
absolutely. Seriously,
it's not a laughing matter. It's my heart cry for you to understand that it was not okay that man did that to you. It is not okay that man talked to you that way, that man touched you that way, that he hurt you that way, or that woman. It's not okay, and it was wrong. You were very much wronged and abused, and you deserve to get the help that you need. And there are licensed, incredibly talented, and oh my word, I don't know where I would be without Dr. Kathy Baker.
Yep.
What a godsend.
Yep.
And this is not to promote her business. I don't even know if she can take any more clients. Like, she's that good. She's here in New Orleans, but she also does motivational speaking and is one of the most dynamic speakers I've ever heard in my life. So, like, I will promote her to the ends of the world, because I wish there was 1 million more Dr. Kathy Bakers, seriously.
Yes.
And I hope to have the kind of understanding about the human psyche and the soul that she does, because she has opened my helped me to understand how I got where I got.
Yep. I agree.
And to her, I owe her my life.
She was one of the first people to really help me understand that my root issue came from being adopted.
Wow.
Even though, and this is with a lot of adopted children, even though I had the most secure home life, I had the most secure parents, I had the most, the best parents you could have, it's down deep in there that even if you have, there's still an insecurity there of someone
Didn't want me.
And it was like just a light bulb moment.
Wow.
Because I had never even entertained that idea as being the root cause. Because I thought, well, I love my parents. My parents love me. I know, I'm secure in all that. But there's still that underlying in the back
Yep, part of your soul.
that knows
Yep.
that someone, now whether they chose to give me up for whatever reason, it was merciful to me because I got the best parents I could possibly get.
Right. I get it.
And even with knowing that, she was like, there's still that little thing that's back there. You know, it's a soul tie.
Right. Yes.
And she said, it's not something that you can just sweep under the rug. You know, you got to acknowledge it, figure out where it's affecting your life, and deal with it.
Wow, isn't that something? I mean, and so many people are scared to take this hard look into themselves because it is very painful, because you do have to relive. This is the cutest boxer. This is Molly. Hi, Molly. I know. I mean, ever since I've been here, like she just wants to be by me, and I don't know why animals are attracted to me, because I am not the biggest animal person in the world. You can get down now. So no, she's so sweet. She just wants a little love. I know. Okay, go lay down by Mama. She's got a soft blanket over there for you. I am not soft. Well, I am. I haven't worked out forever, but anyway, go over there. Go over there. I love you, but there's no room for you over here. Okay, so anyway, I forgot what I was saying. Molly distracted me. Oh, man.
We were talking about soul ties.
Yeah, soul ties. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I can't remember. Whatever, take it over. I can't remember what I was saying.
So, yeah, one of the things that I learned is that your therapy, your counseling can come in stages.
Oh, yes.
And that sometimes you can only handle a certain amount.
Oh, absolutely. Do not try to answer all your questions at once.
Yes.
It's not going to happen. It's not possible.
Yes.
Like, if you set out on that, like, to go to a counseling session and all of a sudden you're super enlightened, and no. It's like this slow, grueling process sometimes. I mean,
yes.
But every time, if you will open up, that's
yes.
the key.
Be vulnerable and transparent.
You have to be completely honest with your emotions. And see, I was never allowed to operate in that realm. I wasn't allowed to express emotions, and I would like good like you had to just do what your parents said and be like Jesus, which means obey your parents. And my parents didn't take a lot of time playing with us, which I think if I would have had some memories of my parents getting down on our level, I would have felt safe with them. I never felt safe with them emotionally because it was all focused on the spiritual.
And see, my parents were exact opposite. I mean, my mother read to me from the time I was an infant, and I mean, I was reading by the time I was 3 years old. And
now, I'm not saying they didn't invest. Like, I was the oldest, so I was reading at a very early age and memorizing chapters of scripture at age 5. Okay, in different multi-versions. Woo, and learning piano. But they didn't invest. That was like all for show. I mean, they knew I had a natural gift, Theresa, which your parents saw that you were naturally intellectual. And so that's what a good parent does, is they nurture that gift, and they encourage you in that gift. So I'm very thankful that they did that. But now, knowing what I know about certain motives of the heart that cause certain actions to result, it was like, this is our money maker. That is not loving your child.
No. And unfortunately, you see that a lot these days, where people use their child to either satisfy some lost thing they wanted to do, or to satisfy financial gain, you know.
Or emotional comfort when a divorce happens and they pit the child against the other parent.
Yes. I mean,
they can do it in positive, negative way, all kinds of ways.
oh yeah, absolutely. And you know, I tell you, I think the only reason that I have made it to where I am today is because I had the stable foundation I had with my parents, and that my stable foundation I've had with God.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I would probably be nowhere near having the things that I've been able to accomplish in
Right,
my life.
because even though you've gotten all these degrees, that didn't help your soul.
No.
And
No.
your soul is what's going to last for eternity.
Absolutely. No, I mean, you know, it getting degrees didn't help my emotions.
Right.
You know, it didn't feel
It
anything.
didn't bring healing
Yeah,
to those
no,
areas that
absolutely
you
not.
were so desperate to be healed in.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that's really, you know, been able to help with that, again, is God and the counseling I've done.
Wow.
Yeah, because I've been able to, you know, I mean, yes, we can all read a self-help book and things like that and think, oh, we got it made now, we understand ourselves.
Mhm.
But I'm telling you, I have had a lifetime of learning about myself.
Ooh, yeah.
And I still don't even know a tenth of probably where the depth of the things in my soul, the depth of my emotions, you know, even still just learning how to express my emotions, you know, in a healthy, positive way, to myself and to other people.
Yep. Because we were were you hard on yourself?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, so hard on yourself. You are in competition with your own self.
I was the hardest I was harder on myself than anybody else.
Oh, me too. Perfectionist mode.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a normal response to trauma.
Yep.
It's to all of us.
Because you're trying to clean up. You're in this constant perfection thing because you're rattled at your core.
Yes.
And the thing that your life was perfect before this happened to you. I mean, you know.
Or so it seemed.
So it seemed like there was no trauma that I can remember up to this point, like severe, except my grandfather dying, which was very traumatic for me. And anyway, at 6 years old. But I mean, he was my rock at a very young age. And when I lost him, I mean, I felt from him what I should have felt from my dad.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Dad, if you're watching this, or if anybody out there is watching this that is still being loyal to that man. But it's the truth. And I'm not going to mince my words anymore. Like, I'm not going to paint a picture for him anymore that is a false. You put ministry first. Always. And that's why we're messed up. And, you know, Theresa, there are people out there that a lot of people, probably more people like me that didn't have the ideal, harmonious father-mother marriage to look up to.
Yeah.
Because if the marriage is faulty, the parenting will be faulty.
Yeah.
I mean, and both will be at fault to some degree. Like, it's not all my dad, you know, like my first husband and I had 2 kids, right? And for the longest time, it was so easy for me to blame, and I did. I blamed Sarah's addiction to Brandon because he had an addiction problem. And I wanted to just focus on the fact that, oh, this generational curse followed her. Yeah, well, that is a true factor, but it's not the all in all. The all in all is that Sarah did not feel comfortable talking to me. It took her years to finally come to me and tell me what had happened to her because of the incorrect way of parenting I was the parenting style I was invoking on my children was the one I had learned,
Yeah.
and I was taught this is how you discipline your children. And when I started seeing that there was this wall coming up between me and Sarah, I said, oh, hell no.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not going down that road anymore. Something's going to have to change. And that's when I got the hell out of Dodge, and I did something different with my life. And guess what? Yeah, my daughter went down a dark path, but we are closer than we've ever been, and we tell each other everything, and there is nothing in the world that compares with a parent and their child's healthy relationship.
Yeah.
It is of God to be healthy. It is of the devil to be broken.
Yeah.
And I was not going to repeat those behaviors 1 second more. And so at that moment, when my eyes were open to see that she held this in after I held it in for 3 years and I knew what it had done to me, there was no way in hell I was going to subject her to that environment to where she could not tell the truth.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what this is all about, us telling our truth. This is our story. No one can take my story from me.
Right.
No one can tell you, Theresa, that you weren't traumatized by what happened to you.
Yeah.
And the people that belittle these things are the biggest predators out there.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that sweep it under the rugs are the ones the most guilty of this behavior, or else why would they do that?
Yeah. Well, we think that we won't be believed. We think that, one of the things after being raped, I thought, well, these people are, I kind of learned who these people were after it had happened, and I thought, oh, well, they have money, they have this, I'm just a little small person in the big pond, nobody will ever believe me, it's my word against theirs. Everything that Satan tells you, all these lies you believe about it.
Yeah.
And it's like, I should have come forward that night, I should have gone to the emergency room.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely. But you don't, your mind isn't going back.
No.
You can't think straight.
No. And plus, too, I was
Logically.
also under the influence of some type of drug.
Yeah, exactly.
That I did not intentionally take. And I think, wow, only but by the grace of God that I've gotten this far.
Oh my gosh, me too. And, something similar
And
happened.
be sane.
And be sane. I mean, something similar in regard to the date rape drug being slipped into your drink happened to me too, and most people don't even know this story, and I'm not going to get into it now. That'll probably be in the book, but it was the most violating feeling I've ever felt in my life, to wake up not knowing how I got where I got, and this thing happening to me. That's what woke me up. I was being hurt.
Yeah.
And I was so sick, physically sick. I rushed out of there. And I drove home, and I wanted to just stop on the side of the road and throw up. Like, I was sick for days.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Because I was in shock. You're in shock.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, what were you doing?
Yeah.
To put yourself in that situation.
Yeah.
Being human.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's freaking predators everywhere.
Yep. They are. And you never
Don't
know.
blame it on me being sinful. I was in a place that I shouldn't have been. Okay, no. I was actually on a date with a guy that I'd been talking to online, and I trusted him like an idiot.
Yeah.
And he was charming. And and we talked about God. And had a great date. Went somewhere else to have another drink, and when I went to the bathroom, same thing.
Yeah.
It's and to have 3. I mean, Theresa, good Lord. Praise God that He is a healer.
Yeah.
And that He
Yes, absolutely.
has appointed these amazing, selfless individuals called therapists that don't get paid nearly enough. And I
Yeah.
know that it's expensive, and I know that that is a reason why so many say, well, I can't afford it. Listen to me. Just tell somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Call somebody. Go to somebody you feel safe with, you feel that truly cares about you. They don't have to have the answers, okay? But just you talking about it is that is the biggest step
Yes.
you could ever take. If you don't do that, nothing else is going to work for you.
No.
And I mean, I had a friend reconnect with me recently that we had been teenagers together, grew up together as teenagers and then into adulthood in the 20s. And we had I knew she had been, same situation, married a guy out there, didn't work out, and then the Lord brought her another man, and she has a beautiful family now and has loved God all these years, regardless of craziness that we both endured at a place. And she felt like she just needed to talk to me about some things, and just doing that like helped her so much. And it wasn't so much what I had to say. It was her taking that step of connecting with someone that I was so elated to hear from her. I was so happy, and I guess she had heard of, like recently, the developments that have taken in my life to where I'm like really wanting to help people that have been abused from that place. And so I'm not a therapist. I'm not expertise in anything. I just know what I've experienced, and it has been the most life-changing thing. And it all started with me, bleh, like you said.
Yeah.
you know?
And a lot of times when you start to talk about your experience, you a lot of times will have an epiphany about yourself.
Yeah.
Or about what you have put yourself through maybe self-sabotage, or just not feeling worthy enough, not having the self-esteem that you need to have. You'll put yourself into situations that just reinforce what you're thinking about yourself.
Yeah.
And when talking about it, all of a sudden you go, that's why I've been doing that.
Yes.
And it's like a light bulb goes off, and you're just like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes so much sense now.
Hearing your own words come out of your mouth puts the pieces together.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes.
And this is why, for those of you listening out there that know what my mission is, the big mission in these videos is exposing fruitless deeds of darkness. But gosh, I just lost my train of thought. What was I saying before that? My mind gets spinning so fast sometimes. Does yours do that?
Yes.
Like, I'm like, my mind goes in 100 different directions, and I have to stay focused because it's so complex. Okay, I know what I was going to say. The complexity of the mind is where I was getting at. And when cult leaders, the way that they get into control and they get people to do what they want them to do is they eliminate this one thing called being able to think for yourself.
Yes.
You're no longer allowed to make your own choices based on what you feel is right for you. They have to approve of it if it serves their needs.
Yes.
And if it doesn't serve their needs, then you're told that it's not God's will, or that's not the right thing to do. And because you have subjected to yourself to someone who you think has the answers or is walking with God, supposedly, you know, okay, well, you know, you just do it.
Maybe I'm wrong.
You know, yeah. So, yeah, you just believe, you blindly believe what they say because you have been taught, you have been literally brainwashed, like brain out the window.
Yeah.
And not washed, like, no, you're no longer, yeah. And I had to say that because the mind is so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And cult leaders know that.
Oh, yeah.
So they have to take over the minds of their subjects, and that's how they get them to do what and that's why I did what I did for 40 years. Wow. So yeah, talk about a lifetime of therapy, people. I know it, okay? Like, I know it. Some people have like, honey, you know that this is, I'm like, yes, I know. And I'm excited about it because even though it's scary at times and it's humbling and painful, all of the words.
Yeah. But you know,
it's worth it.
Counseling's your best friend.
It is, because my eyes are continually being opened.
Yes.
And that's what can happen for you if you feel like you've been walking in the dark, like spinning in circles, walking in circles.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to let that door open. You know, I know there's people out there that feel like they've done so many bad things or they've screwed up so many times. And trust me, I have. I mean,
Me too.
For as many successes as I've had 10 times the failures.
Amen.
But the thing about it is, each time I open that door and go a little deeper and a little deeper, I realize things about myself and it helps me even more so. And I can go forward a little bit more. And then I may have to, you know, I mean, I'm still continuing to do counseling right now.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
And it may be a season of my life where I go for a few years in counseling because I'm slowly just uncovering and learning things about myself. And, you know, sometimes you get to that point where you're like, okay, I'm good for right now. But then you realize, hey, I need to seek out somebody again. And sometimes it's not always the same person.
Right.
You know, you may find that the counselor you had for the season of life you were in was the person you needed. And I believe
or even a friendship.
Yes.
That you shared that deep communion and heart to heart. I have a best friend in Lago Vista that, like, we have these sessions, and I feel like I was just in a session with Kathy because of the healing that it just brought my soul.
Yes.
Right? So God knows what you need, but you have to just continually be on that path of discovery. And I know there's a lot of Christians out there that think, well, this sounds so selfish. That's because there's some things that are not right in the global church. And you can't help others until you help yourself. I mean, hello, like, the more I get healed, the more I'm able to offer that healing to other people.
Yes.
If I go deeper, then what I offer somebody is something of substance. You know, it's not just the superficial Jesus loves you.
Yes.
Yes, it all starts with Jesus loves you, and it ends with Jesus loves you, but there's a lot of in between that Jesus wants us to discover. Yeah. And it's very real stuff. It's very emotional. It's very heart-wrenching. You can feel it, and it affects every area of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. If you don't, you know, when I look back and with the counseling I've done, I look back and I can see where it has affected my life on every level.
Yep.
And I'm like, wow.
Yep.
Like, you don't want to think, like, when you're pushing it under the rug or you're pretending like it didn't happen, you don't realize how much it's affecting your life.
Right. Oh, no. Oh, no. You are deceived to thinking that you're okay.
Yes.
I mean, because you're in survival mode.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's all you've ever known is survival mode.
Yes.
Or you've only known one, area, and you're not operating in it at that time, so you're depressed. So, like, there's so much to learn, and if people would just learn, it would eliminate so many toxic behaviors
Yeah.
that are not just hurting them, but other people.
And eliminate toxic people in your life that you're allowing in.
Yes. You're like, oh, I do not need this. Like,
Yes.
yeah, totally get it. Wow. Okay, so I was wondering what you think is one of the biggest reasons why men especially they really have a hard time with counseling. What, from your professional standpoint, why do you think that is?
I think it's it opens them up to be vulnerable. I think it's also pride, and I think it's also ego. I think those are the three biggest things that, men just don't want to admit they have anything wrong with them.
Right. Because they think they have to uphold this image. Their identity is wrapped up in what people think of them.
Yes.
And, I've just gotten to the point in my life where I don't care
Yeah.
what anybody thinks of me. I'm going to do the work on me.
Yep.
And if you like it, great. If you don't, that's not my problem. I know what I have got to do for me, and it's to tell my story and to encourage others to tell their story, because we all have a story to tell. And God, God is so cool. Like, He's so cool. He's so real. Like, He's in the details. He's in every detail. And, like, you don't know who you're going to meet tomorrow that might need to hear something from the depths of your soul, some encouragement. But if you haven't dealt with your trauma, you can't offer that encouragement to them because you're consumed with your trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I've noticed in my practice is that, and even with my teaching that I do, is that I'm very, from when I was younger versus now, is that I'm much more transparent with what I say to my patients. I'm much more vulnerable to let them see that I don't know everything, to let them see that, yes, I have the same hardships that they have.
Yeah.
And that speaks to people.
Yes, it does. You're relating to them on a very human level because they feel that way about themselves. So you didn't get that way, Theresa, by just praying and reading the Word. No, it was digging down deep into your soul and doing the work that made you be able to have empathy.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I tell you, when I was young, after I had the incident of being molested, I had no compassion for people.
Me either. Those of you watching that remember me as a teenager, I had no kindness, no compassion. Well, now you know why.
I was very cynical. I was very sarcastic. I was funny sarcastic, but at the same time, I just, I remember my dad, one time there was somebody that had gotten pregnant, and I thought, and then my comment was something to the fact, well, they should have known better. They should have, not been doing that or something like that. And my dad was like, Theresa, you really need to get some more compassion.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think it kind of stunned him the way I had said that, and because it was, very caustic, and he was like, you need to be more compassionate. And you know what? God.
What did you think when he said that to you at that moment? Do you remember? Do you remember like it kind of going over your head, or
no,
you
understanding?
understanding?
I remember I was kind of like, okay.
And did you think?
I was just more like, okay, whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, but like, you don't really like. I know what I've been through already.
Right, you don't know what I've been through, so you don't know. You don't have a clue. That
You don't know
I
where I'm
remember
coming
thinking.
from.
I remember thinking that way to my parents. Like, if you only knew
Yeah.
what I was experiencing right now. I was so angry. I was so insecure. I was so fearful, and oh my gosh, wow.
Yeah, and you know what's so interesting is I would say the one emotion that probably has dominated my life would be fear.
Oh,
And most people that know me would not ever think that that was
neither.
the case.
Because you're strong and independent, and that's what my issue was. That's what I recently discovered, that fear had controlled me my entire life. Isn't
Yeah.
that something? Wow.
Yeah. So.
And I bet you there's people watching that they really think about it. If you really think about
Yeah.
it, think about all the times that your mind instantly goes back to that were scary, that caused pain,
Yeah.
and think about how afraid you were.
Yeah. You know, and the thing about it, you were fearful to even experience pain. And the thing about it is, all my life, I've pretty much had some kind of physical pain.
Mm.
So I knew what physical pain was like, and I could control that with my mind in some ways, or through medication, or through, whatever. But it's much more difficult to control the emotional pain.
Oh my goodness, yes it is. Yes it is.
We try to shut it off, and I've learned to compartmentalize, physical pain. I've learned to compartmentalize mental and emotional pain. But eventually, those doors are going to start popping open.
Mm-hmm.
And those boxes are going to start opening. And you, unless you deal with it, you don't know what could happen. I mean, I think that's the reason we have kids that, like you said, shoot up a school or shoot up a movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
Is because that emotional pain that's in there is not being dealt with correctly.
Right, and it's in the soul. So, because like I've said it a million times, and I'm going to keep saying, because I don't think people understand. They've got to get this. Your soul makes up your mind, your will, and your emotions.
Yes.
So if your emotions, it's like the 3 in 1, like the Trinity. It's like it just keeps breaking down to 3 parts, right? You've got the spirit, soul, and body, and then you've got the elements of the soul, and having truth and light expose the deepest part of one's soul is what truly sets them free. But sometimes it takes a lot of digging, step by step, slow journeys, because it is so painful, and it messes with your mind. That's why you have to go slow.
And that's the reason sometimes you go in stages too. Like I haven't done all my counseling all at once. I've had a season here and I've had a season there, but what you just said about the mind, the will, and the emotions is that the mind is your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And your thoughts influence your emotions.
Yep.
And then what you're thinking causes your emotions to either go cold or run high.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens is those emotions then control your will.
Yep.
And that controls your actions.
Yep. Perfectly said. That's what I want people to understand. They don't, there's such a lazy spirit, lazy attitude. See how I caught myself there? I was going to say lazy spirit, lazy attitude amongst this generation, especially. There's no critical thinking happening. Like, they don't even have to solve their math problems anymore. They just allow them to use computer calculators and Google and all this stuff, and it's like the mind is just going in this one direction, and it's usually entertainment, and then like all of the education, all the intellect just goes out the window, and because parents are like, oh my gosh, my child has ADHD, oh my gosh, they're battling depression, oh my gosh, I've got to create this special culture for them to thrive in according to this. And it's like you're enabling your child to continue down a path of not doing anything about it, disciplining himself to actually work out the issues that he has, you know?
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating to me how society just has taken, yes, depression is a real thing, yes, but there's a deeper reason for it. You don't just put a Band-Aid over depression and medicate the depression.
Yeah,
You've got to go to find out why the child is depressed. What happened? Where's the breakdown? Is it mental? Is it emotionally? Is somebody abusing you? Are you not getting the love that you need at home? You know, and I love that there are so many counselors out there dedicated to youth, that they see the importance of dealing with it at a young age.
Absolutely. You know, I see so many people, especially young people, that have nowhere they feel like they can turn, especially with regards to how they feel with their parents, or how they feel with, you know, another family member, or how they feel with people at school. You know, I went through a hard time as a junior high student with being teased unmercifully whenever I was in like 6th through 9th grade. And, you know, to the point where, had I not had such a secure home life, you know, I could see where I would have considered suicide.
Oh, yeah.
You know, or I would have considered, you know, doing something about these kids at school, because
it was destroying you.
Yeah. You know, to the point where I was ready to go off to another school.
Wow.
And leave home.
Wow.
And go to another school, literally.
Wow.
And I thought, you know, and again, because I didn't, you know, kids don't want to burden their parents sometimes with things, because they know they're going through so much stuff already.
Yes, and that was Sarah. She also knew I was just working all the time, and she didn't want to put more on my plate. You know, I mean, oh yeah. And so if parents are so focused on their lives and living their lives, and, you know, the kid is a nuisance, you know, there's, you know, certain ages where they can get really annoying. You know, you can't allow your selfishness, you know, and your needing your personal you made the choice to have kids, so they better be your priority. Their emotional health, their sexual health, their everything health better be your number one priority. And if it's not, and you're, you know, I made this mistake. I made this horrible mistake, you know, my 30s, after my first husband left, you know. I did spend too much time out, but I was trying, like you said, I was trying to just breathe, to feel alive, because I was working, and it's not that I didn't want to be with my kids. I was dying, and so like I needed a drink after work, you know, and that was an unhealthy way of, you know, obviously coping with, but I wasn't taught any other way. And now that I know the healthy way, it's like I want everybody to know, you know. So
absolutely,
it's amazing. So I don't even know. I can't see that number. I have no idea how long we've been going. Is it been 2 hours yet? Oh my gosh. That's okay. Like, this has been amazing, and I know that there's podcasts out there that are 2 hours, so we may have to split it in two. I don't know what we're going to do, but this has been amazing. This has been so good. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being open and honest. I kept telling her, are you sure you're okay? Because this is not easy to talk about. It is, you know, especially someone like you that is someone here, you know, has her own practice, but she understands the importance of getting this message out, because it could have destroyed her had she not gotten the help in that area that she needed.
Absolutely. And, you know, I think more professionals need to open up, because that's the thing, I think, is that people think that, you know, it's only people who don't have things together, you know, that have issues. And it's like, no, there's all kinds, people of every walk of life have issues.
Every walk of life.
And
I don't care who you are.
you know, and I want people that's on a professional level to know that, hey, it's never too late to get help. You know, I want people on a level that's in school, or people that, even if you're a teenager watching, coming across this, you know, that it's never too early to get counseling. It's never too late to get counseling.
Yep,
You
that's
know,
right.
get it before you think you have an issue.
Yes, yeah, learn how to communicate, learn how to just process your
Yeah.
emotions. You may not have had anything traumatic happen to you, like sexual abuse,
Yes.
or physical abuse, or spiritual abuse, or emotional abuse. I
Yeah.
can name them all. I've
Yeah.
been through them all. But you don't want to ever fall into a pattern of stifling your emotions and not knowing how to properly deal with them, and get yourself in that mode of, it's like a washing machine, you know, just total cleansing.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't, you're going to get stagnant, and then something will happen,
Yeah.
and you will not know how to handle it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just, like I said, I think counseling as it is today is probably one of the greatest things that we have available to us.
Mm-hmm.
And that there is always a counselor out there that you can afford.
Oh yeah, there
You
is.
know,
There is.
There's plenty of free counseling out there. If you say, oh, I can't afford counseling, well, there's a lot of people out there, if you have insurance, that they take insurance. There's a lot of people out there that do a sliding scale. There's a lot of people out there that if you go to certain organizations, they will do free counseling. You know, there's people out there that support those organizations in order for people to have free counseling.
Right.
So, you know, if you belong to a church, go and talk to the pastor. There's usually counseling teams or counseling services at your church.
Mm-hmm. Real good, right
yes.
kind of counseling.
Yes, absolutely. So, you know,
Don't let fear, don't let
yes.
condemnation, don't let guilt, don't let
Yes.
any of those things, because that's false.
Yes,
If you were abused, was not your fault.
yes, correct.
It was not your fault. You did nothing
yes.
to deserve what happened to you.
Yes.
You were innocent. Your innocence was taken from you,
Yes.
and that is a huge thing, pill to swallow. But if you go to the right people,
Yes.
you can swallow the pill, and you can get healthy again.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, we are living testimonies of that, and again, we will say we have not arrived, we
Yeah.
have not come to the end of our journey, we will never get to the end of our journey as long as we're on this earth.
We're still works in progress.
Absolutely, and I'm sure tomorrow I'll be crying over something else, you know, that I discovered about myself that I've been doing wrong. No, it's so awesome to be able to see, oh wow, these behaviors are toxic because of this, and I don't have to do that anymore.
Yes.
So
That's what's so great
yeah.
about it, is that you can realize something that you've been, a repeated behavior that you've had, and you realize why you do it. And there's plenty of other there's plenty of programs out there that'll help you start to overcome. You know, even on Facebook every day, I see different programs advertised that help, like with cognitive behavioral therapy and different types of therapies that help people get through. You know, even if you just go, there's books out there that'll help you. I mean, just get started in reading a good, well-known author.
It's not going to overtake you.
Yes.
It's not. I think a lot of people are scared that they're not going to be able to handle it.
Yes.
And I'm telling you that there's someone bigger up there that cares about
Yes.
your heart, and he's not going to allow you to be overcome if you really, really want help.
Yes.
But people just let fear and or they say they don't have time, whatever. You can't afford not to go, because time is not your friend.
No, and telling yourself that I'm beyond help is a lie.
It's a total lie.
It is such a big lie.
Look at me. I was the worst. I was really stuck in some really toxic behaviors, and I'm literally like sometimes can't believe that I've changed.
Yeah.
In these areas that I fought so hard for so long to change.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm continually allowing the shedding to happen to get to the deepest part.
Yeah. And the thing about it is that I would have never had somebody told me after some of the things I had done in my life that I would end up teaching continually, for the most part, teaching a women's Bible study. I would have been like, right, yeah, God's not gonna ever use me like that, and because I've done too much, I've done way too many things that, why would God use somebody like me?
Yep.
But the thing about it is that's the reason He uses somebody like me.
Exactly, because you can relate to people.
Yes.
They don't want to hear about a bunch of mumbo jumbo, Holy Ghost like stuff that they don't understand. They want to know that you have experienced pain because they're in pain.
Yeah.
And if you can't relate, they don't want to hear anything you got to say.
Yeah. And that you've experienced life.
Right.
You've experienced the down and dirty of life.
Yeah.
And that you're making progress. Sometimes we might not, like I said, making it through is relative. But, we can just continue to move forward and continue to make progress.
Yes.
And that's kind of how I look at my life, is I'm not there yet. Let me tell you, there's plenty of things in my life right now that I need to continue to work on. And sometimes it's a daily struggle. Sometimes it's a weekly and a monthly struggle. And sometimes it's a yearly struggle. But,
that's so encouraging for me.
But when I look back at where I was 20 years ago, and I'm like, sometimes I see some repeated behaviors.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see some patterns.
Yep.
But those are just there to enlighten me and say, you know what? If I do better today, that's one thing better that I'm doing today.
Yeah.
That I didn't do yesterday.
Yeah. And be proud of that.
Yes, absolutely.
We're so hard on ourselves.
Yes.
It's like we don't give ourselves grace. We don't give ourselves a little room to make some mistakes. We beat ourselves up because we're not perfect and everything. I will not live like that ever again.
Well, and we're either at the extreme, we're too hard on ourselves, or we don't
put in any work.
Yes.
Yeah. I know.
We just go to that other extreme of like, we give up on ourselves.
We give up on ourselves. Oh, well, if God's not going to change it, it is what it is. I hate that saying. It is what it is. I really can't stand it because, no, it is what it is because of something.
Yes.
Like, it isn't just what it is.
Yes.
That's the falsest statement ever.
Yep.
So anyway, I know we could talk all night. I have come to learn after 15 years of thinking I knew this woman that we have way more in common than I ever dreamed, and it's been very refreshing to my soul. I'm very thankful to my husband for allowing me to come on this trip. I thought it was, just to celebrate my spiritual mom, but I ended up getting way more blessed just by hearing your story, and it helped me tremendously. So I figured if it would help me, maybe it would help other people as well. And with, me finding, talking to people and being vulnerable and open, I'm sure that more are probably going to be willing to come on my show. I hope so.
Absolutely. I mean, thank you for letting me come on here and share my story, because, that's one thing I felt like, especially after I was raped and some of the things that I dealt with after that, is that, I felt like God was going to open that door one day for me to be able to share my story.
Wow.
And you never know when that door will open.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right.
And to have an audience as big as the World Wide Web,
right,
you know, to be able to say, hey, you know, there's somebody else out there that knows what you're going through.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that
it's a powerful tool, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
And I'm so glad that we can, you know, I can tell you if you have watched to this point of the show, then that means that you are hearing something that's resonating inside of you, and thank you for staying on as long as you have. But you also need to know that we prayed for you.
Yes.
To find this.
Yes.
And to watch this, because this is not being live streamed, and after this is over, done recording, we're going to pray.
Yes.
That God leads you to this, and that something that we said makes a difference in your life, and for the good. And that's the whole point of anything that I ever have to say about my story. It's not to make anyone look bad. It's to give, number one, praise to God, because without Him, I would not be sane. And number two, to give a voice to the ones that have been silenced.
Yes.
And ones that have silenced themselves, thinking that nobody wanted to hear what they had to say, or maybe they silenced themselves because they thought it was the right thing to do.
Yes.
Silencing yourself is never the right thing to do, unless, you know, you're wanting to say something that doesn't benefit somebody else's well-being. You know, we have to sometimes restrain ourselves from saying things that are harmful, right? That could hurt other people. But even in my talks tonight about referring to my dad and even talking directly to him, it's that I'm trying to get him to wake up, to see that he is still alive and he still has time to make things right with his children. And that's all we want. And I think that if you would give us a chance to express the way we feel and felt for so long, we're not trying to make you feel bad. You know, we're trying to get you to see that our emotions and the way we feel matter. Mm-hmm. And we had to take care of ourselves because it was our response. Some of us have done the work because we want to be whole, and then others have not done the work because they're that broken.
Yeah.
And our hope is for healing all the way around the board. You know, I have forgiven. I need to say this, because I don't know if I'll get another opportunity to say this. I'm flying home tomorrow. I mean, the plane could crash. I don't know. But I always want to take opportunities to say my piece, you know, that I have forgiven my abusers. That doesn't mean that I want to have a relationship with them, especially, I mean, I don't ever need to have a relationship. I never even need to see my abuser ever again, which I was forced to do on multiple occasions afterwards, by the way.
I understand that too.
But when it comes to my family members, I always long for there to be a healthy, wholesome communication, restoration. Yeah, absolutely. And I just need people to know that I don't harbor any bitterness. Rots the bones.
Yeah. Resentment,
all those things, I don't want that in me. So I don't have those things in me. I don't have unforgiveness.
Yeah.
But what I do have is zeal for this issue. I have zeal for the light, to expose the darkness, and to give a platform for other women, especially, and maybe some men. Who knows who'll come on my show, to say what they have come to know to be true.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if this dog farts one more time, I'm gonna die. It's actually the only time that it caught me. I was like, that's perfect timing. Time to end the show. I don't know. This woman's courageous to have 3 dogs. But anyway, thank you for tuning in. You feel free to email the email address that you see at the end of the show. Reach out to me if you have any questions or would like to possibly be on the show. I'd love to hear from you. Again, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Theresa. Thank you so much. God bless you. God bless you. Have a great day, night, whatever time it is when you watch this. Bye.
Bye.